Okay, welcome to Order Flow Trading Course Lesson 5. Who are the market participants? My name is Michael Valtos. I'm the founder of orderflows.com. Before we get started, I just need to read through a quick disclaimer. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to buy or sell a futures contract or make any other type of investment decision. Futures trading contains substantial risk and is not for every investor. An investor could potentially lose all or more than the initial investment. Risk capital is money that can be lost without jeopardizing one's financial security or lifestyle. Only risk capital should be used for trading, and only those with sufficient risk capital should consider trading. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. See OFTC Rules 4.41. Hypothetical or simulated performance results have certain limitations. Unlike an actual performance record, simulated results do not represent actual trading. Also, since the trades have not been executed, the results may have under or overcompensated for the impact, if any, of certain market factors such as lack of liquidity. Simulated trading programs in general are also subject to the fact that they are designed with the benefit of hindsight. No representation is being made that any account will or is likely to achieve profit or losses similar to those shown. Okay, so understanding the market participants. The futures market is made up of different types of participants. Basically, there are two types of participants, retail and institutional. An institutional trader is a generic term that covers many different types of traders, but the common denominator of institutional traders is that they have big money to throw into the markets. Retail traders are traders trading for their own accounts. Basically, anyone not trading for an institution. Even if you're trading with your own account with $1 million in it, you're still considered a retail account. You don't become an institutional account just because you have a lot of money in the account. An institutional trader, can either be someone trading at a bank, at a fund, trading, for, hedging purposes. There's a lot of different reasons. Imagine, the sharks and the swimmer, right? You'd see the swimmer as the retail trader, the shark as the institutional trader. I mean, a lot of people think that, all institutional traders make money. That's not true. A lot of hedge funds go up. Banks lose a lot of money trading. They're not always right. Overall they're right, but, sometimes they're wrong. Just keep that in mind. Institutional traders come in many forms. It could be real money. What's real money? Well, real money would be like a sovereign wealth fund or, a pension fund, someone that has, the real money behind the trade. They're not speculating per se. Commercial traders would be like the Cargills, the EDF Mans, the Louis Dreyfus, the Bungees, people that, control the supply chain for certain commodities, whether it be grains, whether it be oil, whether it be energy. Those are, commercial traders. Hedge funds and CTAs. Obviously, hedge funds have become a major focus in the last 10 years or so, with, market manipulation, but, they're adding a lot of volatility to the market. CTAs have been around for a long time, 30, 40 years, it seems. They're not as big and popular as hedge funds. CTAs tend to keep their activity in futures for the most part, to a certain extent. Foreign exchange, hedge funds could be in anything, beyond futures or equities. Hedge funds could be buying companies and things like that. Obviously, banks, the big banks, a lot of regulations lately have cut back a lot of banks' proprietary trading. There's still a lot of trading coming out of banks, either through brokerage or hedging, but, it's not as big as it used to be on a bank's profit and losses as, say, 10 or 15 years ago. So why is it important to know what the institutions are doing in the market? Well, it's because institutional traders are traders that can, one, move a market out of congestion, stop a move, or turn a market. And, it takes big money to do that to a market. It can happen, in a smaller market. The market can change on small volume, but you need to follow through. And oftentimes comes in the form of big money. Moves will start when institutions start accumulating a position, and then people start adding in and joining the position. But as a trader, you want to notice when the institutions are being active in the market. Now, you're not always going to know, are they getting into a position, or are they getting out, or why they're getting in or out. You're not going to know. You can make your best educated guess based on what the market is doing, where it is in relation to the highs and the lows, or where it is in relation to the weekly highs or lows, or monthly highs and lows. You can understand that by reading the market. That's what order flows gives you. Just because a market is moving sideways, all of a sudden you see aggressive buying, doesn't necessarily mean that those big institutions are coming in and accumulating a position. You gotta take everything into context with what's happening in the market. To me, an institution is like the big sharks swimming in the ocean, and retail traders are the guys hanging around the shark trying to pick up the little bits that's left over. It's really the institutions are the people. They move in and out of the market. And it tends to be slow, but they go for a ride in the market, and they tend to ride the trends. They have access to much better information than any retail trader can ever imagine. Like I said, they know the underlying factors. Basically because they have a vested interest in the underlying that oftentimes we're not. Those of us sitting on the outside looking in. So, what's real money? Like I said, real money is, traders like sovereign wealth funds, like foreign governments and investment arms. Singapore has, GIC, the Middle East, they all got their own sovereign wealth fund, Qatari fund. They're always investing, all over the world, central banks, also, you don't necessarily hear about it, but they have investment arms, monetary authorities of governments. Those are real money, and they do have positions in the market. You may not hear about it, and but they are quite big. Big meaning tens of thousands of lots positions in bonds or minis. It's quite massive. When they're getting in and out of the market. Commercial traders are trading firms like Cargill, Vitol, Chevron, etc. Basically, most of their trading is for hedging purposes, but they do, a portion of their trading is speculation. They have information about the markets that are not available to the trading public. These traders have, they have the ships in the ocean moving the commodities, the wells pumping the oil. They know the supply chain. They've been in business for a long time because they know what they're doing. You don't stay in business, Cargill's been in business 150 years. They don't stay in business that long if they're making poor trading decisions. That they're losing money, year after year. It's not like, they have the government to bail them out. If they lose money, that affects their bottom line. Most of these commercial traders are privately held companies, so they don't have the government to bail them out. In the way the banks, get bailed out by the government when things go sour. But at the same time, these commercial traders, like I said, they have access to information that we don't have. For example, they're going to know the silking rate of corn in central Illinois that, most people would have to pay an analyst to go out and stand in the field. I mean, these big companies, they have research departments, and, they have, their ear to the ground much better than, most people do. They can see, as by supplying, a company like, say, Cargill supplies cooking oil to McDonald's, so that they know what the demand is from McDonald's that, people don't understand. It's a much bigger picture than just, simple supply and demand. They understand, what their needs are for McDonald's for the next 6 months. So trust me, they got a very good, idea of the direction of certain commodities that, like I said, most people, would wish they had. Hedge funds and CTAs. These groups have, mostly hedge funds have gotten a lot of the press in the last decade. CTAs not so much. It's because, they're viewed as, bullies, pushing the market to price extremes. Some traders, view them in a similar way that they view the mafia. It seems sometimes moves are exaggerated because, hedge funds have plowed into a market, and oftentimes when they get out, they all get out at the same time. Most funds tend to be trend followers, but have more sophisticated and become more sophisticated, and they can trade in the same way commercial participants trade, as many traders have moved from commercials to hedge funds over the last decade. Really, probably in the last decade, you've seen more of a move from traders from companies, the commercial side, to hedge funds, because they really have a good understanding of supply and demand that you can only get if you worked at a commercial trading company. Like I said, most hedge funds start out, they seem as trend followers, but then, as they get bigger and get more money, they got to add more traders, and, a place to sort of diversify their portfolios, getting, traders from the commercial side and, adding them and giving them more of a macro view on the economy. So, funds often jump into and out of the market around the same time because they're generally going in the same direction. When they get out, it's like a fire in the room. Everybody runs for the exit at the same time. Nowadays you look at charts and you see markets becoming overbought and oversold more often than I think, say 20 years ago. And, it's because there's a lot of, I'll say hot money, but there's a lot of additional money in the markets besides, money in there for hedging purposes. And you tend to get moves that are, slightly extended, one way or the other, so imagine, there's additional traders and all of a sudden, everybody wants to get out at the same time. So you're going to have a move that's sort of exacerbated, even though, there's not that big a change in the fundamentals to cause the market to sell off. The fact that there's so many people getting out, with their positions around the same time, that makes the move a little bit more drastic than it should be in reality. I know that, some hedge funds have struggled with this. Some commodity trading funds, their view 6 months from now is, let's say, the soybean market is going up. But, in the meantime, there's a 7% correction, just because the market corrected 4%, but there's so many additional hedge funds, in the market getting out that the move, went from, down 4% to down 7%, that, for all these other hedge funds that, have a risk parameter, if the market goes down 6%, they got to get out. It just adds fuel to the fire. But then in the long run, it turns out, that these commodity funds would have been right, but they got stopped out because of the extra volatility, extra trading in the market by, the additional hedge funds. But the other participant is banks. Over the last few years, prop trading has declined with the new regulations, but, banks still have to hedge positions daily. Even though banks said they don't do prop trading, they do. It's often disguised in different forms. Swap desks make markets, and the desk will run the positions. They do it, but it's not as advertised as in the past. I think, trading could add a lot of profits to a bank's bottom line. And so I personally, I think they try to disguise it in different ways, but, banks don't necessarily have big prop trading departments that they used to have, back in the early 2000s and definitely in the 80s and 90s. So, people got to realize there's no holy grail to trading the markets. The best a trader can do is look for clues left by the institutional traders. Look for areas where the buying or selling has dried up. Look for the areas where there's been a big stopping volume. Look for areas where, the institutionals are piling into the market. So the markets exist to facilitate trade, but there's going to be times when, things get out of whack, when you see much more buying activity than selling activity. those are the signs of, institutional traders starting to build a position. When institutional trader buys or sells, they can stimulate the market, which causes a surge in volume, which sets the stage for a price move. A market can just start moving slowly. When an institution starts getting into the market, they just don't jump right in, with both hands and throw all their money around. They start getting in and start accumulating a position. They don't want to get in and move the price. They want to buy it at a low price. They don't want to buy it at a high price. So, they start layering in their orders, accumulating their position. But, you're going to see it show up in the volume. It might be subtle, it might be obvious, but it will show up in the volume when, someone's accumulating a position. And conversely, when the institutional traders start backing away from the market, what's going to happen to the market? It can drop. Say they were buying when, they're no longer there to support the market. What's going to happen? The market's going to fall. That's why it's important to notice when institutional traders are active and when they're not active in the market. There's no secret to trading. Successful trading has always been about understanding the convictions, the strengths, the weaknesses of buyers and sellers, especially the ones with the money to move the markets. You don't necessarily care about what all the little retail traders are doing. Granted, you can add them all up and get a big collective, but, retail traders, they're trading for many different reasons. They've got indicators, they've got, trading advice from somebody. The people with the big money, they have the conviction of the market. A retail trader doesn't necessarily have the conviction of the market. And a institutional big trader, they can withstand the market, take a little heat from the market as it moves against them. A retail trader, as soon as it starts turning against them, by a couple points, they start to panic and get out. Institutional traders, they can assess the market and decide, do they still want to be in? And most often, if they still want to be in, they may be interested in building up their position even more. So once you understand what the institutional traders are doing in the market, you can trade with them. You want to be trading with the traders who are moving the prices. You don't want to be trading against them. You want to be on the right side, as them. Think of it like, do you want to be on the same team as Michael Jordan, or do you want to play against him every night? You want to win, right? You don't want to play against him every day and keep getting beat. Yeah, sure, you may win once in a while, but, you're not going to win the championship because you got to go through Michael Jordan. So, the quickest way to win a championship is to be on the same team as Michael Jordan. So, with that in mind, institutional traders, they're always trying to hide what they're doing in the market. The reason they're doing that is because the size of their order is, often very big. And, they use all different types of order entries to minimize the market impact when they get in and out of a position. They've got thousands and thousands of lots to buy. And, you can't just bully your way through the market to fill it. You want to do it with the least market impact, without moving the price as much as possible. If you can do it without impacting the price, then that's great. It's more money in their pockets. And, but one thing that they can't hide is the fact that they traded. It'll show up in the volume. The volume provides the intensity of a price movement. If price starts moving, you'll see the volume should really pick up. If it's a true move, you'll see price movements on very thin volume, but then what happens? The price just, falls right back, after it moves up on thin volume. But if price is moving on heavy volume, it's indicative of a real strong, solid move. This right here is a chart of a nice move down, and you're seeing very strong selling coming in. You got the imbalances, you got very nice volume, you got negative deltas all the way down. You got 1900 sold there, 1200 sold here, 891. Even here, these are not imbalances, but they're heavy volume. It's 2500, 2400. You can see the volume is quite strong. Again, this is another example. The market is starting to move up, and you're seeing it happen on strong buying. Buying in balance of 1,200, getting volume of 2,100, 2,400. Because what's selling? A couple hundred, 800, 1,900. And here you got 2,000 against 400. 600 against 2. It's strong buying on the way back up. This is a different one. This is crude. And what you're seeing is volume up here. It's to stop the move higher. It's the same price. People are trying to take it higher, but there's somebody up here, at this price here that has volume. They don't want the market to get past that level. They may let it go past, but by a tick or two. But there's somebody that has a lot of inventory to sell up here, and order flows is the only way you can determine that. This is a 5-year chart, right? And you're seeing a nice move up from a low, and you're seeing massive buying, 5,000, imbalances, 5,000, 4,000. When normally you're seeing imbalances of, a few hundred, and you're seeing, these massive imbalances, 5,000, 5,000, 4,000. Big positive deltas as the market is moving away from the low. You see right on the low, you see a small print as well, indicating that there's not much interest in people to sell it down here. And then in the move up, you're seeing a single print. Again, there's not much interest for people to sell it lower. This is a bond chart, and what you're seeing here, you're seeing just average ratio numbers, but you're seeing a lot of selling. On the way up, you got a couple of imbalances, but it turns right up here. And, what happens in the delta is very strong negative, at the end of a move. You have the market moved up, kind of moved up on some, okay volume, okay deltas. But you hit the high, and there's a lot of selling came in. You see the selling imbalance right off the high. You have a buying imbalance right here. People were trying to take it to go higher. Earlier in the bar, people were buying it. You got the buying imbalance. They couldn't push it any higher. And, it was bid, here at 22, 23. And someone just came in and sold the heck out of it. You got this big buying imbalance, 400, and just, sold it off. And, the market just sold lower. This is, why you want to look at an order flows chart. You could see this happening in real time and get in on the move when it's happening. Not getting in down here after it's already turned. You can get in as soon as you notice that it turned, and you can get a nice profit out of it. So, that's the end of this lesson, lesson 5, market participants. In the next lesson, I'll explain the different types of trading being done in the market by the market participants, and how to interpret what the heck they're doing. Like I said, there's all sorts of different market participants, but you want to understand why they're doing what they're doing. It's one thing to know, that they're buying, who's buying, but you want to take everything into context with what's going on and know how to profit from it. So that's the end of lesson 5, and we'll pick things up in lesson 6.